Hello, everybody, and welcome in. We are back here on the Chopaholic podcast. It's been a minute. The Braves are 7-4, while the offense has carried. The pitching has struggled a little bit. My name's Bryce Koon. I got Logan Whaley joining me here in just a second as we talk. What does Atlanta do with Spencer Strider potentially out for the entire season and Max Fried struggling here early on? That and more on today's episode of the Chopaholic podcast, brought to you by the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
For the third straight episode, I will say, guess who's back again? It has been far too long because our day jobs, Logan, if we could just listen, if you want more consistent content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, so Logan and I can respectively quit our day jobs and just do this.
Right.
This is, that's the plan, right? Yeah, no. So sorry, Chris, if you're watching this. I don't know if he's watching this. I think he's a Cardinals fan. Am I right in that?
No, he's a Boston Red Sox fan.
Okay. Well, if he's watching this, we don't want Logan to quit. I was just joking. Just joking. Hey, it's always also Masters Week, Masters Friday. I got the Masters going on in the living room as we're recording this here on Friday afternoon.
Hat, you got the flag.
I got the hat. I got the flag in the background. I got someone who already got me a ton of merch from Augusta National. So pumped about it, man. It's a fun weekend. Spring football over here in Baton Rouge, getting ready for LSU. You've got a spring game for Arkansas State.
That's right.
And Logan, you kind of covered some monumental shifting news this week too. Before we dive in, for people maybe tuning in for the first time, people may know who I am if they're subscribed already, but maybe they're tuning in to the Brave side of the show here for the first time. Let them know what you do, where you're doing it, and why you were in Fayetteville so much. That's Fayetteville, Arkansas, by the way.
Well, I'm a sports anchor at a TV station here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, which is the home of Arkansas State. Jonesboro is about an hour from Memphis. It's kind of tucked away in the northeast corner of Arkansas. But Fayetteville, probably the the biggest news of the entire week, and definitely overshadowed the national championship game, in my opinion. John Calipari getting named the new Razorback head coach, and a shocking turn of events, twist of fate, whatever you want to call it. But no, craziest story. John Tyson, the former Tyson Foods CEO, the billionaire, close friends with Calipari, luring John Calipari to Arkansas. Probably the biggest news of the week. So that was exciting. That was a lot of fun to cover.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is you were driving back from Fayetteville. You didn't have to watch that debacle of 16-4 and Luis Guillorme pitch in the ninth and give up the grand slam to his former team. That was awful. The Braves, but this is the thing: the Braves did not lose the series to the Mets because the series cannot be deemed complete until they play on September the 26th in that makeup game after getting rained out. Really bad weather in Atlanta over the past couple of days for them there. If you're watching this or listening to this, we're recording this on Friday afternoon, about 3 hours or so before first pitch, as Max Fried's going to take on the Marlins down in Miami. We're going to talk about Fried. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, some storylines. But over the course of the early part of the season, Logan, I want to go the good. Then we're going to get to the bad and the ugly. The good is this offense has carried. I mean, this offense has been what we thought it might be and more. Two big factors standing out to me. Marcell Ozuna is one of the hottest hitters on the planet ever since that game in Miami last year where he had the multi-home run game. He's been on fire. Matt Olson, I don't know if he's going to hit 54 bombs, but Matt Olson looks really, really good. And Jared Kelenic, it's amazing what adequate coaching and having fun playing baseball. I'm not saying they don't have fun in Seattle. I'm just saying when you have fun and a good group around you, it can raise the level of your play. This kid's always talented, but man, just your thoughts on this offense carrying through the early portion of the season. It's been kind of what I expected. And it's nice to see that live up to the billing when everyone was kind of needing that and wanting that coming out of spring training.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely expected, but I think what was unexpected was seeing the hot starts from some of these guys. I mean, you don't expect, you don't expect Jared Kelenic and Orlando Arcia to really be carrying this offense to this point, but it's how it seems like right now. And it's a good sign to see with Jared Kelenic. And look, I know that he had a hot start last year and then the wheels fell off. So that will be something I'm curious to see how sustainable this is. But already it just looks like a very different Jared Kelnick from what we saw in Seattle. So very excited about that. I mean, this team is, it could be better than last year on the offensive front too. I mean, we saw it last year where it felt like pitching was just this constant question mark, and every time the Braves would get down 4-0, we would just panic and start to question a lot of things, and then the Braves offense would score like 9 runs, and
Yeah.
everything would be okay. So I'm feeling like this is going to be the trend this year too.
It's kind of crazy you just mentioned that, because you go back to the Arizona series, game 1 and game 2 of that Friday, Saturday, and I know we're kind of dating ourselves a little bit, but everyone knows Atlanta did what you just talked about. They got down and they come back, and you, if you're a Braves fan, just more than 2021, like we'll say, maybe you're a casual observer, you really started to pick it up, in 2021. Yeah, you've seen some crazy comebacks, but Logan, like we even take it back a little bit further. Ever since they've been at Truist Park, they just kind of have this knack for just coming back, this knack for never really being out of a game. And a lot of people say, well, it's easy when you have the most talented, lineup in baseball, of course. But the guys have talked a lot about it, and Travis d'Arnaud talked about a little bit of this with reporters after the game on Friday when he had the walk-off. It's a chemistry and bond thing too. Like, to be able to be down 4 or 5 runs early or 4 or 5 runs late, and then just not necessarily flip a switch, but be able to stay the course of your plan and your purpose, and not just say, okay, you know what, we only got 4 more rounds to work with. We're down by 3. Let's just pack it in and go tomorrow. Some teams do that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, some teams are just like, we just live to play another day. That's the cool thing about this team. And we saw that on Friday and Saturday against Arizona. Now, obviously against the Mets, they're able to do some really cool things too, offensively. But just, man, it's been cool to see this offense do that. I also thought I wanted to get your thoughts specifically on Kelnick. When he was asked about the chop, when he was asked about the atmosphere, he was like, this is cool. Like, it was kind of like watching a guy that, look, Seattle is on the up and coming, you feel like, as a franchise. Like, it's definitely
Yeah.
not where it was 3 or 4 years ago, but they're doing well. They have a star in Julio Rodriguez. They've got great players, and they got a great atmosphere. Like, when they made the playoffs, it was unbelievable to watch that. Man, but Atlanta's fan base in this first opening homestand was it was nuts, Logan. And I think for him to see that, to feed off that energy, it can rejuvenate or revitalize a guy's career. Not that Kelnick's career was in danger. I don't think he's still super young, but just kind of your thoughts on his comments and maybe what has led him to just be that better player.
Well, everyone talks about the change of scenery and how much that can impact a player. I mean, you see it, I think, more so in baseball than you see it in many other sports. You see a
Yeah.
guy that leaves their original franchise, and it's almost like they get a new lease on life whenever they switch teams. And when you join a franchise in an organization like the Braves, and especially where you're not expected to be carrying this offense. I mean, I don't think,
Yeah.
and again, I just don't think that outside of the core of this lineup, Acuna, Riley, Olson, et cetera, like those guys are going to be carrying this offense. And so I do feel like the pressure is off of Kelnick in some ways, because
Yeah.
I mean, look at who he's replacing. I mean, he's replacing Eddie Rosario and Kevin Pillar. He's replacing that duo. And I personally think that Kelnick and Duvall is leagues better
Yes.
in just about every facet of the game. And I mean, just the platoon that's there. I mean, tonight the Braves are facing a lefty, and Adam Duvall's
Mhm.
going to get that start, right? I mean, I would love to see Kelnick get more at bats against lefties. I think that's the only thing that you could probably complain about. Someone that young, I just want to see him get more reps against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, when you get down to it, hard to complain about having Adam Duvall be the platoon against left-handed pitching at the same time.
Yeah, very hard, and especially on opening day when he had that massive hit down the left field line, that really was able to kind of bring Atlanta back into that game. No, I agree with you, and I think too. Kelly talked about, we saw towards the end of spring, he started to feel more comfortable in the changes in his swing. And we've seen this staff do that with whether it's a pitcher or hitter, not break down their mechanics, but really just kind of be able to say, hey, I know this is what you've done. How about we try this? The receptiveness of the player matters a lot, but
Mhm.
also what is pointed out to me is the respect factor given by this player. Look, Kelnick was a top prospect in baseball when he was traded from the Mets to the Mariners. It's really easy for a guy like that to say, you know what? Well, this is what got me here. I'm just going to keep doing it. And if I keep doing it, I'm good enough, it'll figure it out. His receptiveness to the Braves staff is huge. And I think it speaks volumes about this entire roster. And I think it's been cool to kind of see a couple numbers, just nuts stuff here. I'm looking at just base level numbers, not even super analytical numbers. In his first 26 at bats, he's got 12 hits. He's batting 462. He's got a OPS. He's one of 3 players in the Braves lineup with OPS over 1,000, or over 1,000. Logan, if I'd have told you, give me the 3 players, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks into the season with an OPS over 1,000, you'd have said, okay, Matt Olson, yeah, he's there. Okay, that's fine, makes sense. Marcelo Zuna and Jared Kelnick. That's crazy. Like 11 games into the season, Marcell Ozuna has 5 homers, 13 RBIs. Yeah, he struck out 10 times in 11 games. He's walked 3 times. He got 2 doubles. He's scored 8 runs. Um, I don't know. Like, this is really fun to watch. Like, it is fun to watch the people who wanted Marcell Ozuna waived this time last year already.
Yeah.
Not even due to off the field stuff, but to on the field, lack of performance. That's been cool to watch. And we really haven't even seen Ronald Acuna get going yet. It's kind of scary about what this offense can do. But I agree with you. No big surprise other than maybe some of the members that have, really kind of stepped up here early on. And Orlando RC is obviously a big part of that too.
Absolutely. And, Arcia it's so wild to see the stats that he's had to start off this year. I mean, it's not just, good on the Braves, but it's one of the better numbers in baseball too. I mean, you look at, WRC plus, he's on that leaderboard. He's on the first page of
Yeah.
that leaderboard, and so that's been exciting. And as you mentioned, I mean, the usual guys not being their usual selves yet, like Ronald Acuna. I mean, it's a scary thought because when guys like Acuna, when he slumps, normally, on a normal team, that would mean the rest of the team is slumping offensively.
Yeah.
But to see other guys around him pick up that slack, and again, I mean, there's no concern with me about Acuna. I think he'll get going, and I don't know. It's so strange because some of his at bats have been taken away by bad calls. But
Have you seen some of those?
yeah,
Brutal.
I'm thinking of 2 in particular where it was like I think both of them are full counts, if I'm not mistaken.
The
I
one I
know one
remember,
was.
yeah, the one of the full count one that I remember off the top of my head was one was a fastball or a 2-seam or something outside. And it's probably a good 2 baseballs length outside. So that's about what I mean. I don't know the circumference or the diameter of a baseball off the top of my head, but that's good enough to be taking a strike. And he's just kind of like I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with that if I swing at it. Like other than beat it into the ground, like you can't get any lift on that pitch. So I agree with you, but continue what you were saying.
Well, I'm just saying, I do think, I mean, just based on what we've seen out of Acuna's career, I mean, just he's going to get it going at some point. But for the Braves to be 7-4, despite the adversity that this team has faced already this season, I mean, my gosh, I mean, it started game 1 with Sean Murphy going on the IL, and
Yeah.
and that you had that, you had Strider's injury, you have Acuna not being 100%, you've got several other things. I mean, Max Fried struggling. I mean, there's so many things that you look at this team and you go, man, like this could be catastrophic. But no, I mean, they're still playing fine. Like they're still playing good baseball because this team is
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah. Kind of, takes us into the kind of the next topic of conversation here. You mentioned the pitching. Offense has done a great job in spite of, and a lot of times I don't use that word. They've done it in spite of just not great pitching. Now the good news is Chris Sale looks good. Like Chris
Right.
Sale looks like what you want him to look like. And it hasn't been necessarily against bad competition either. Like that outing against Arizona was exactly last Sunday what you needed to get out of him. I think at least like that was really, really nice. He's gone 10 and 2/3 so far. He's given up 4 earned runs. He struck out 13. Like Logan, that's what you thought you were going to get out of a healthy Chris Sale. We're not asking for a guy that was arguably baseball's best pitcher, 7, 8 years ago. We're asking if Chris Sale could be your number 3. We'll get into that in a second. What you wanted, that's good. Another good aspect. I don't know how sustainable it is. He has not pitched over 66 innings in a season since 2019. But Ronaldo Lopez looks like a frontline guy through his two starts.
Yeah,
I love what he brings to the table as a competitor. Kind of your thoughts?
yeah, his stuff looks ridiculous. I mean, it moves all over the place. He's got high velo on his fastball. I mean, it's perfect. It legitimately looks like a steal for Atlanta. And now, I think the game plan might have been to shift him more to a bullpen role as the season goes on, just because you would expect guys in AAA, like AJ Smith-Shawver, to make that jump.
Yeah.
And so Ronaldo can kind of be your long reliever, or a guy that in high leverage spots early in the game you can go to him. But now it's, I mean, with Strider's injury, I mean, he's a necessity if he keeps this up.
My biggest question with that is, I mentioned he hasn't thrown more than 66 innings in a season since 2019. Look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's the question. Like we're talking about 2 starts. He looks dominant. He looks the part. His 2 starts have also come against, I believe, Chicago, the White Sox, and the Mets. 2 lackluster offenses. So that's something, the White Sox, I'm glad they were able to win a game against the Atlanta, because with all due respect to an organization that I was formerly employed by with the Birmingham Barons, all due respect, they need one of those because they're going to get about 57 wins this year. I mean, they're just not good. They're just not very good.
It feels like every year the Braves
so
loses
sad.
a game to somebody they should not be losing to. That's
it's baseball. It is. So my question for you, Logan, like if you have a guy in Ronaldo Lopez, if he look, is he going to every 12 innings just give up 1 run? That's Cy Young level type of numbers. Like when you're talking about that, I don't think that's sustainable, but that's his stats so far. If he stays a big piece of this, like you kind of do have to monitor a guy that hasn't thrown a lot of innings, but also I don't think you can move him from the role he is out of the necessity. So it does take us in the conversation with Spencer Strider. The news hasn't officially come out that he's going to have Tommy John surgery. We are obviously acknowledging that is probably what's going to happen here. Ronaldo Lopez just came that more important and maybe more of a polarizing topic for this Brave season.
Yeah, definitely. And real quick, just a sidebar. It's so interesting that pitching matchup between Ronaldo Lopez and Garrett Crochet, because how come the White Sox thought of converting Garrett Crochet to a starter, but they never had the same thought about Ronaldo Lopez and let him walk? That was the weirdest thing to me. I never understood that.
I believe they let him, but the leash was really short on his opportunity.
Yeah, that's fair.
But still, like, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Crochet's good though. I'm very high on Garrett Crochet.
I got an inkling why you might be. Go Vols, right?
Well,
but no, seriously, like, I mean, how do you think they address this thing of where, like, okay, our frontline guy's gone, like pretend like he's gone for the year. Ronaldo Lopez hasn't thrown over 66 innings since 2019. Can he do it? Yes. Like, I think it's going to be a conversation where they're going to have to closely monitor, because it's cool if Lopez is doing this in April, May, and June. But if you get to, once again, if you get to September and he is fading quickly, that's when you're in trouble, because there's no market to go out and get anybody else. That type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I do think it may be a bit of an overreaction to say like Anthopoulos needs to make moves now. And I get it. The AAA guys, they've been struggling. I mean, everyone saw Winan start. That wasn't great. Smith-Shawver hasn't looked fantastic in AAA. But at the same time, I look at the rest of Major League Baseball. There's not a whole lot of rotations that have it all figured out to begin with.
Yeah.
And the Braves, I mean, look, the bullpen's been kind of up and down, but I think the bullpen has good pieces in there. Now, I did share, I have concerns about the bullpen, and if Anthopoulos makes a move, I'd much rather him go get a bullpen arm than I would a starter at this point. Just because I feel like this offense can do enough, and to the point where your number 5 starter just needs to be league average.
Which probably means going 4 to 5 innings.
Right. And I think we're so accustomed to seeing the dominance of Strider and the dominance of Freed when he's healthy, and now adding Chris Sale, it's almost like, and I remember the same argument when Dansby was let go, right? It's, we what are we doing losing Dansby Swanson? What are we doing letting Freddie Freeman walk?
Yeah.
Because I think Braves fans have gotten so accustomed to seeing just about every single position being started by a top line guy or a top end caliber, superstar almost.
Yeah.
And that's a luxury. But at the end of the day, losing Strider definitely sucks. It hurts. I mean, you have to replace 200 plus strikeouts that you're not going to be able to get. You got to replace so many things with Strider, but it's not a death knell. And I think that's part of what Alex Anthopoulos set out to do this offseason. Build enough pitching depth where an injury just doesn't kill you. And I don't think the Braves are dead in the water quite yet.
We're going to talk about Strider's injury and that impact more. I did want to get this last little tidbit on Lopez. Curveball usage for him has not been something that he has used a lot of, Logan, but he's used it already 15.3% of the time. It was just 1% of his pitch usage last year. That's a massive jump. I know it's 2 starts, but you think, okay, guy moves from a bullpen role to, he needs to have that repertoire. It needs to be more developed in what he wants to do. Opponents have whiffed on 5 of the 10 swings against this breaking pitch so far. So opponents have swung 10 times and they've whiffed 50% of the time. That's a pretty good whiff rate. And I don't think, once again, that's going to necessarily continue at that high of a clip. But you got to love what you see out of Ronaldo Lopez. And I do agree with you in terms of the bullpen arm. I just like what you said there. I'll leave it at that. I like what you said there. And it's a conversation for June, but not right now.
Right. Well, and the thing about Lopez too, and this is what we were saying, in the preseason. I think a lot of people were, and again, I know that there were probably some people on the surface that are looking at this and like, Ronaldo Lopez over, Bryce Elder, the all-star, but at the same time, Ronaldo always had the higher upside, and he still does to me. And you're seeing some of that upside right now. But I think the concerns that you bring up are very valid because, he has been a bullpen arm for so long and has not been a starter in a very long time. And when he was a starter, did not go so well. But I think what he discovered when he moved to the bullpen, I think that helps him now.
Yeah, his fastball sat at around 97, 98 as a reliever, and it's average so far this season 95. That's not concerning. That's still, you feel like, enough to get good guys out. And if he's using the curveball more, it feels good too. Let's talk a little about the bullpen. Just kind of a quick overview. Logan, I don't pay much attention to stats in April because, look, a guy could have a really bad outing and then he's got to work a month and a half to get that ERA back down.
Right.
It's talking about competitive pitches. You're looking at, bad luck. You're looking at that BABIP type stat as well. Just a couple names off the top of my head, off the list I'm looking at here of guys. I feel like AJ Minter has been kind of what you thought he was going to be. That's just what AJ Minter is. Dylan Lee has looked really, really good. 8 scoreless innings. That's huge in terms of guys on the left side. Joe Jimenez has been very, very solid through 4 2/3 innings of work. Jesse Chavez has been really good, and it's just hilarious. I love Jesse Chavez. That's the ultimate goal of this podcast, is to get Jesse Chavez on the show, because would be unbelievable. Now Luis Guillorme, I don't know how many more pitching opportunities he's going to have. He's got a nice flat 36 ERA. Not what you want to see.
9 homers per 9.
Yeah, 9 homers per 9. Love that. The 2 guys that people are kind of maybe concerned about, or I think Pierce Johnson's going to be fine too, by the way. He's got a 6.35 ERA. But Aaron Bummer and Tyler Matzik. Look, Tyler Matzik, he was never going to be lights out in April. And there was a lot of talk whether he would even make the active roster. Was that the right thing for him? They deemed it yes, and this is where you can, learn on the go in terms of, learning what this arm can do, learning how maybe I need to tweak things just to be a different pitcher. I don't know. And then Aaron Bummer. Literally, Logan, people, opening weekend, Bummer it's a bummer to have Bummer. This guy's filthy, and this guy's got some nasty stuff. And I'm not just saying that because he's got a nice 89 diamond card that I've been using it in with the show. No, I'm talking about the fact that I like Aaron Bummer and like what he brings to the table. Don't put a lot of stock into these numbers here in April. If it's really bad in July, August, then yeah, that's where you kind of start to freak out.
And I think the early stats suggest that he's gotten unlucky too, because his ERA is over 6, but his expected ERA is just over 4, and his FIP is under 3. So I
Yeah,
think if anything, that shows maybe he's gotten a little unlucky. The walks probably concerning, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, this guy's nasty, and the bullpen, you just got to give it time.
I agree. I agree. Got to a 2.08 whip, an average against a 368. Like those, look, hitting's always going to be above pitching. I think at this point of the juncture of the season, I feel like that has flipped though. Like I feel like the old adage used to be pitching was going to be ahead of, hitting. But with how good offenses have gotten in baseball, I feel like that might have flipped a little bit in the past couple of years. So not too concerned with that. All right, last topic of maybe where people are concerned, and we'll kind of end it with this. Spencer Strider is, we believe, done for the season. Big blow. Strider, obviously, frontline guy, number one guy that you want to see. And it just sucks for the sport when you look across, the guys that are not going to be pitching this year, like Shane Bieber, did a lot of work in the offseason. And a guy that you and I both mentioned, like I wouldn't mind seeing him in an Atlanta uniform. This is before they went and got Chris Sale. But you see, a guy like Spencer Strider done for the year. The obvious thing, Logan, is okay, Max Fried. Then people pull up Max Fried's, early 2024 baseball card and they see the stats, and it's a little concerning. How concerned are you? Now, tonight, once again, we're recording this on Friday, so a lot of people might be watching this after the fact and saying, well, he got lit up again by Miami. I'll say this is an opportunity for him to right the ship against a 2-11 Miami team. But just your thoughts on Max Fried. What's the level of concern from a guy who has proven that he can be one of the top pitchers in baseball, but maybe so far has struggled through his first 2 starts?
Is it too homer of me to say not really any concern?
You're talking about a Cy Young candidate when he's at his best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say this for people who are going to watch and listen to our podcast about the Braves, you're going to find very quickly that Logan and I don't want to come off like we have this great understanding of baseball. This is just a really hard sport.
Yeah.
Like, guys are going to get roughed up, even the best of them. And it's really easy to overreact and act like that, certain things happen. I truly don't start worrying about the Braves or having an opinion, forming an opinion until, like a lot of people say, till maybe after Memorial Day. If that ERA is, above 10, if the stats are still not good, if he's given up 6 or 7, runs per outing, then we got a problem. But yeah, I'm not too concerned.
Look, he's going to figure it out. I mean, I just believe it. And even if you want to use stats to kind of justify that claim, I mean, look, barrel percentage, right? I mean, this is a StatCast thing. I mean, he's been barreled 9% of the time. That's over twice his career average. So if you want to use regression to the mean, like that's going to come down. I mean, it's just 2 rough starts, including the opening weekend start. Like that was the worst outing of his career.
That was brutal.
And that could have been prevented had that strike 3 been called. So it's just you go back and you look. You go back and you look at certain things, and I'm not concerned. I don't think Fried, and you got to throw in the narrative of it's a contract year as well. I mean, I don't think that he's going to continue this slump for long. And granted, I could look really, really dumb by the time tonight comes around. But even if he gets roughed up tonight, I'm still not concerned about Max Fried because we know as Braves fans who he is and what he's capable of.
I agree. I'm there with you. I feel like I have a longer leash than social media fans let on to sometimes do. And I don't, and truly, Logan, like, I don't mean it as a thing of like, I think I'm a better fan. I'm just not going to worry. Like, I think I just realized this sport's super hard. It's the hardest thing to do. And, he faced a good Phillies lineup too. Like, you got to give them credit. He faced a good Phillies lineup. Yeah. Arizona's the defending National League champions. Like, he faced 2 really, really good lineups, and the fact of like, it just kind of happens. And maybe in 2 podcast episodes, maybe 2 or 3 more episodes, if he's still there, then we have a legitimate conversation. Sure. And I'll say this, I saw a couple things on social media, and this is a weird way of looking at it. But I saw a couple things, Logan. It's like, would Braves fans be willing to sacrifice a subpar year of Max Fried so they could sign him at a cheaper discount if he plays above that? I don't wish that on the guy, but it
No,
is kind of a weird thing to think about. And I don't love it, but I think it's just weird.
it's funny. Yeah, I think that has been one of the discourses I've seen, and the other was the Trevor Bauer thing, which no, morally, no,
Yeah,
I can't get behind that. But I don't know, man. I think that this is gonna be an interesting stretch for Braves pitching. And if there's ever a time to try to figure out some things with the pitching staff, it's right now. I mean,
agreed.
you're gonna get a revolving door of the AAA guys to fill in Strider's spot for now, and you're gonna see who works and who doesn't. And I would much rather be doing this in April than in September. I mean, just the way it goes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and look, you're going to have, Darius Vines got called up today, so that's Winans goes back down. Um, AJ Smith Shawver's obviously in that conversation of a guy that could be be a piece for you that I think you and I are both high on and what he could bring to the table. But also, too, the guy's got to learn how to pitch. Like he's literally been pitching for like 4 years. I mean, it just has. It's not
Yeah.
we place and I'll end it with this, and then I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to end it with this, and then you give me your thoughts on some of the young guys. Vines is up. Kind of showed some flashes of what he could be last year towards the end of the season.
Mhm.
But Logan, the Braves country, Braves fans, we like to call them on our college football show. People who don't really understand. And look, smart people make dumb public statements, and dumb people often make dumb public statements more consistently. Um, I call them rock dwellers, people that live under the rock and they only come out at certain points to make comments. The idea that you're supposed to hit on every single 21-year-old is just nuts. And this is not real, like what Atlanta's doing. Like this run that they've been on with these young guys, like you have to be able to recognize that. It's special, but especially as a pitcher, like the idea they're supposed to come up and just dominate, that is such a rare thing. I think it's easier for position guys, honestly, to be able to hit than it is to be able to pitch at such a high
Right.
level. So if AJ Smith Shawver comes up and he gets roughed up for 2 or 3 starts, he's not over. And I will even say this. I saw a YouTube video last night, and it was like the downfall of the Braves pitching staff. That's what the video is titled. It was made by a Mets fan. It had over 30,000 views.
I think
He
I saw
talked
that
about
today. Yeah.
he talked about Soroka. I think that's just a freak accident. I don't think it's downfall. Like the Braves didn't do anything wrong there. He talked about Kyle Wright. I don't also understand that one really either, in the sense of it was an injury. Like I just, the guy wasn't healthy, but he won 20 plus games. But the last one, and I don't think we need to forget about him. It's Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson was dominant when he came up, and teams figured him out. And now, to be able to combat that, he has to make adjustments. I don't think it means, Logan, though, as he comes off this injury, that he's just never going to be a piece in this rotation again. Like he still has the same promise, at least to me, and maybe I'm more optimistic that he had before the injury. Like that's how I still think he can be that for them.
Well, to me, it's telling, and I don't know if it's because other teams didn't see value in him, or if it's because of this reason I'm about to bring up. But you know, Soroka and Wright were both traded. I believe both this offseason, right? Soroka might have been earlier.
Yes, yeah, they were both traded. Soroka to Chicago,
Yeah.
and then Wright to Kansas City.
Right. Anderson wasn't traded. So I don't know if that's Anthopoulos still seeing the potential that's there, still seeing the value that's there, because I think a lot of people were surprised that Kyle Wright got dealt. I think people weren't necessarily surprised with Soroka because he didn't show a lot last year.
Yeah.
But I think this is Anthopoulos' way of saying, maybe we hold out hope for Ian Anderson and what he could be. And I'm with you. I think that, too often we see young guys get called up and they get shelled or, whatever. But even if the situation where Smith Shawver comes up as a bullpen arm and not necessarily a starter, I mean, we've seen that route work before with former Braves guys. I mean, Chris Medlin is the first guy that comes to mind for me. So I don't know. To me, I think it is just too early, but I'm excited to see who could stick. And it may be nobody. And if that's the case, then then you
Go
got to
get
go
somebody.
deeper. Yeah, I mean, and the Braves could go get someone.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think we can safely leave this podcast saying that the offense has bailed out the defense or the pitching. Like that has been that. And with how good this offense is, I think that was going to do that regardless. Like that just like you have to have an unreal offense because your pitching cannot dominate for a full 162. I don't know any pitching. Like I'd like to go look at the top pitching staffs and maybe we do that at some point, and over since modern baseball and look at what they've done. And I would even go back since like 2010, like this really new modern age of advanced stats, advanced analytics, and be able to look at like what if the best pitching staffs look like and how does that compare to what Atlanta can put out there? Right. Because I don't know. Like I think people just think this is MLB The Show sometimes, and you can fleece people in trades because it only allows up to 3 players per trade. That's not real life. But this is also hilarious too. We're going to end this right here with this. I don't know if you've seen this. This is hilarious. Jared Kelenich's career OPS, okay, is in direct reflection with the annual jet fuel consumption in Zambia. Have you seen this? His numbers are better when the annual jet fuel consumption in Zambia is better. That is one of the best things that I've seen on social media here recently. Social media can be a hellhole sometimes, but this is why we love it, for obscure stats like this.
I'm speechless.
I don't even know what to say. Like, it's absolutely crazy.
I guess I need to keep up with the annual jet fuel consumption in Zambia now. Look, realistically,
if you're a betting man, you need to. That's for sure. That's for sure.
This is how I imagine like the hardcore sports bettors. This is how I imagine them doing their research for the day.
It's a wild stat. But hey, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you listening and watching as well. My name is Bryce Koon. He is Logan Whaley. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. We're live on Mondays and Wednesdays going forward, talking college football. Logan and I are going to be sprinkling in more Atlanta Braves episodes too. Not sure still how we're really going to format it, in terms of how we want to do it. Do we want to do series recaps, thoughts? We will, do maybe some shorter episodes, just kind of reacting to breaking news as it happens. Maybe when, college athletics decides it wants to just be tame a little bit. That'll be the biggest thing.
That'd be great.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. I don't know when we're supposed to sleep. John Rothstein, like, what are you talking about? Like, when does anybody sleep? And I won't be because I'm 7 weeks away from having a kid. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hey, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe, and we will catch you next time here on the Chopaholic, brought to you here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.